I guess we can get started now. Good time.
All right. So, hello and welcome to Money Matters. This month is April is Financial Literacy Month nationwide. In Howard County, we celebrate it as Money Matters Month. And today's program is by the Cash Campaign of Maryland, and it's about saving for the future and using the Save4College program to help start saving money for your children's higher education. Usually at the beginning of our programs, I like to provide an overview as to what the Office of Consumer Protection does here in Howard County. And the main thing that we do is that we mediate disputes between consumers and merchants, landlords and tenants. And if through the mediation process, it turns out that there may be some legal violations, we do have the power to investigate and to also engage in enforcement action. Do a lot of programming in person or on webinars. And we also license and regulate trespass tow companies, peddlers, and solicitors. So folks who come door to door or who have roadside stands or food trucks come under our jurisdiction. I would like to introduce Whitney Visker of Cash Campaign of Maryland, and I'm just going to turn the program over to you.
Thank you, Tracy. Hi, everyone. So my name is Whitney. I am a program associate for financial capabilities at Cash Campaign of Maryland. And CASH is actually an acronym that stands for Creating Assets, Savings, and Hope. And we are a nonprofit organization based in Baltimore City that works towards promoting the economic advancement for low to moderate income individuals and families in Baltimore, but also across the state of Maryland through a network of partners. And we do this through various ways: direct service programming, building organizational financial capabilities and field capacity, and also leading policy and advocacy. Next slide. Some of the programs we offer are free tax preparation. As today is tax day, so it's the last day to file last year's tax return. So we do that starting around mid-February, early January. But then after tax season, we do offer back taxes. So if that's something you're interested, we do go back 4 years. So you can check our website, cashmd.org, to fill out the intake form. It's available right now. And we will reach out to you sometime May to schedule some appointments that'll be open for that program. And then we also offer financial education workshops directly similar to this one, like different topics on budgeting, building credit, paying down debt. We do offer free benefit screenings as well. We have an intake form on our website. It takes around 10 minutes to fill out. And through the benefit screenings, we screen for up to 22 different local, state, and federal public benefits programs. And essentially, you never know what you're eligible for. So we help you figure that out. And then we would help you with the application process if we find any programs that could work for you. We also offer free financial coaching and financial planning. So in addition with the classes, some people do prefer working one-on-one with people. And so with financial coaching, you can select your own financial coach and work with them virtually. We use a platform called Trust Plus, where you can meet with them either through phone or video calling. But it's a good place to work one-on-one with someone, have that guidance and that expertise on different topics with personal finance. So they can help you put together a budget. They can help you figure out an action plan. If you have debt, you want to pay that down or build credit or rebuild your credit. And with financial planning, it'd be working with a pro bono certified financial planner to talk about your longer term goals. So similar to what we're talking about today, so saving for college, but also retirement, investments, estate planning, so longer term goals that are also equally important to plan for. And then we also offer financial fitness fairs throughout the year. We just had our big Money Power Day last month, which is our biggest event. But we also have other events throughout the year, like our Financial Education Summit that also just passed, and then we'll have our Common Sense Conference coming up in September. Next slide. I just want to mention a quick disclaimer about the content we're going to mention today. Cash Campaign in Howard County are not affiliated with Maryland 529, the program, and the information that we're going to be sharing today is for informational purposes only. So we don't want you to consider this legal, investment, or financial advice, and that we will also not guarantee any or promise any results from any of the information used today. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, so we have some just quick true or falses, and you can put this in the chat and we'll just go through them, and it's fine if they're not all right. But the first one, as of 2022, student loan borrowers in the US owe a collective $1.57 trillion in federal and private student loan debt. Do you think this is true or false? Okay, looks like we got one true. Any other thoughts?
Two truths.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so I see a lot of truth coming in. Okay, so yeah, this is actually true, and this was released by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, that this is a collective amount owed. It's a significant amount. Okay, second one, among adults who do not have a bachelor's degree, most said the major reason they did not receive it was because they didn't think they could get into a four-year college. True or false?
Truths and falses.
Okay. So yeah, this one's a little tricky. So the Pew Research recently released a study showing what were the major factors in people not attending a four-year college or receiving their bachelor's degree. In the top three, so the first one was that they couldn't afford it. Second one, they said that they needed to support financially their family. And the third one is that they didn't want to attend a four-year college. And one of the reasons we're doing this outreach is because we think people shouldn't be put in the position where they don't have this option because they can't afford it or because they need to put their finances towards, have this towards their family or just having these conflicting priorities. And the last one is the average cost of attendance for a student living on campus at a public four-year in-state institution is $25,707 per year. True or false?
Have a mix of truths and falses as well.
All right, yeah, I felt like this one's a little low, but I guess because it's a public four-year in-state, this one's actually true. But definitely this is I personally feel on the lower end. It could definitely go a lot higher.
Is it
Thank
the
you.
states that are added in
Yeah.
to the average?
Next slide, please. And there's been a lot of research around this too, like the value of having a college degree and different types of college degree, bachelor's, master's, doctorate. So studies have shown that the degree you hold does impact the salary that you get when you graduate. And so the Northeastern University released data from a study they did where it showed the difference in the degree and how much that person on average was paid. So if we start at the bottom where we see less than a high school diploma, we see that the average salary is around $30,000. And as you get higher, to associates, it jumps up to 46, 48, and all the way up to doctorate degree, you jump up to 97,000 annually. And these are averages, but this does still show that today still there's a lot of value in having a bachelor's degree, master's degree. We see it in like the job postings where they always put like at least they'll mention what type of degree or work experience. And so this is still important for us today to if you want to see and build generational wealth. So I'll just share that. Next slide. Yeah, as we see that it's very important. Why is it so expensive? And so here we have an example from the University of Maryland College Park, and this is from their 2022-2023 1-year attendance for the undergraduate program. And so we got this from their website. And so they basically divide their costs into billables and non-billables. So we see the direct billable cost, which is their tuition, housing and meal plan, which this one, it's an average, but it can definitely be higher. And so the total cost for these billable costs, and then there's non-billable costs that also this can fluctuate based on where the university is, if it's a higher cost of living place. I was surprised when I went to college how expensive the books were. And then you also need to put into account transportation if you're not on campus, or how you're going to get to school. And then just other costs that go with it, healthcare if you don't have healthcare, or if the college is putting the bill for that, they may charge you. Other student fees are added. So these are just a little breakdown of what goes into that. Next slide. So before we get started on the option that we're going to share today, I just want to ask the group, what are ways to save for your child's college or future? And you can share maybe what you're already doing or ideas that you've heard about.
I have a 529. Someone is already in a 529.
Perfect. That's awesome. And hopefully you can give us some insight on how that process was for you.
I have a high yield savings account and savings accounts.
Perfect. Oh, that's great. Yeah, and all savings accounts are not equal, right? So the high yield savings will have different benefits from just your regular savings account through your bank that you have a checking account with. Okay, thank you. And there's various ways we can still use a true and tried way of having a piggy bank and just putting extra change in there. Having a side hustle, or just another way of getting some extra income, because most of us may not have that 30,000, 80. I checked my university and it's up to like $80,000 a year. I don't have $80,000 a year and that's 4 years, right? So you have to account for that. So it can be hard to save for college, but there's different ways to do it. But thank you for sharing.
We have an extensive answer. Set aside earnings from weekly or biweekly paycheck at the time your infant is born until they go to college, and practice dollar cost averaging for cost-effective purchasing of, for example, mutual fund shares.
Thank you for sharing that. Those are some good tips, especially like the setting aside money, because even though college may feel like 18 years from now and they're infants, it definitely comes by fast. So planning early is key. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, so the program we want to share today and the opportunity that Marylanders have is to receive up to $500 towards future education through the program called Save4College State Contribution program. And this is when Marylanders open a Maryland 529 College Investment Plan account. So we'll talk about both parts of what is a Maryland 529 and then what's the Save4College program. Next slide. Okay, so what is the 529 plan? So essentially it's a tax advantage savings plan, and it's designed to encourage saving for future educational expenses. And so it's going to work very similar to a 401k, in which that we put a little money in, and when we retire, we're able to use those funds towards retirement, except that this money is designed to use those funds when the child or the beneficiary is ready to go to college or higher education. And so that's when they can use those funds. What is special about this type of plan is that the earnings are going to grow tax-free, and then they can be withdrawn tax-free for those qualified expenses like tuition, room and board, required textbooks, printers, laptops. So this is like really one of the biggest benefits. And we can use various ways of saving for college, including savings accounts and putting money aside in just these different types of accounts, and just regular investing through brokerage accounts. But that tax advantage savings plan is what makes this plan unique. Next, please. Again, what can we use this money for? Tuition and fees, meal plan, campus housing, textbooks, computers, or what they call peripheral equipment. There's a long list on the Maryland 529 website on what is qualified expense for qualified expense. Next slide. Okay, so we covered 529, and 529s are available basically at any investment firm. Various financial institutions have them, Merrill Edge, Vanguard. Here in Maryland, the Maryland 529 is ran by the T. Rowe Price investment firm, but not everyone has a program similar to Save4College. Only 15 of the 50 states in the country offer a 529 matching program. And I was looking at all the lists of the 15 states, and Maryland's is the most generous. And so Save4College State Contribution program is designed to help lower to middle income families in Maryland save money for higher education. And they do this every year from January 1st through May 31st. The enrollment period is open for Marylanders to apply for this matching contribution of either $250 or $500 when they open that Maryland College Investment Plan. And it's MCIP. And we put the MCIP in there because when you go on their website to open an account, it has the acronyms. So that's the acronym to remember. Next slide. And so how do I qualify for the state contribution? There are some eligibility requirements. And the first is that the account holder and the person you're opening the account for, which will be the beneficiary, both have to be Maryland residents. The account holder, the beneficiary must be under the age of 26, and the account holder must be at least 18 years of age to open the account. And both have to meet, well, the account holder has to meet an income eligibility, which we will show the table in the next slide. And if they file Maryland taxes, the account holder must file the state taxes by July 15th, regardless of any extensions that are put out there. For the purposes of this program, it needs to be done by July 15th. Next slide. So let's look at those income requirements. So it does go pretty high, and they basically divide into 3 tiers. So when we look at that first tier of income, $49,999 or less is for an individual, and for a family income, it's $74,999 or less. And what the state is asking is essentially for the account holder to put in a one-time minimum payment of $25 to get the account started. And if you are approved and everything checks out, they would contribute $500 into that account. And this changes based on the income. So if you go to the second tier, they do ask for $100 minimum contribution. And if you go to a third tier, they ask for more, and they match it dollar for dollar at that point, up to $250. And they do want this one-time minimum payment to be done by November 1st. Next slide. So how do you apply for the state contribution? So every year, the enrollment is open. So starting January 1st, you can apply for the program. And if you don't already have a Maryland College Investment Plan, you can now do that step. Next is open your account. It's very simple to apply. It took me, I just did it recently for my son. It took me like 10 minutes. And all they ask for is the account holder, the beneficiary's name, residential address, social security numbers, and eventually they do ask for banking information, because it's one of the ways that they accept that minimum contribution of $25, or you can send in a void check. They don't accept cash, but you would open the account, and then the next step would be to apply for the Save4College. It is a separate application, but it's also very simple, and they streamline it very user-friendly. And so you would do this before the enrollment period closes at 11:59 p.m. on May 31st. And again, the other requirements is if you're filing your Maryland taxes, to do that by July 15th. And the account holder must also make that minimum payment for the applied for accounts. no later than November 1st. And then you would do this again once January rolls around next year, 2024, 2025, until your child is 26 if they're still in Maryland. Next slide. Yeah, so here we see some of those things they will ask. So full name, residential street, address, date of birth, social security number, and then be able to provide a bank account or void check. Oh, and one thing to note is that they don't ask for tax forms. They're the ones that verify that information with the Office of the Comptroller of Maryland. So they make it very simple. Next slide. Okay, some quick reminders is that once you open that Maryland 529 College Investment Plan account, that's it. You don't have to open the account again. It's similar to like different banking accounts. You open them and they're done. But you do have to reapply every annually for the state contribution by May 31st. And if you have multiple children, you would have to apply. Each child gets their own application and their own account. And then accounts are held by individuals only, no such thing as joint marital accounts. And this is also another benefit about the 529 account, because there's other child savings accounts available. There's one called Quotable, but what makes 529 more flexible is that you can change the beneficiaries to a long list of eligible family members. You can change it to a nephew, a stepson, a niece. And the reason this is available and why this is a good benefit is because let's say your child decides, turn 18, they don't want to go to college, or they got a full ride and they don't need the funds in the account, then you can now transfer it to another relative, and you can even use it for yourself. You can leave it in there, and then they can use it for grad school. So this is a good and flexible benefit of this type of account. There's no limit on how many times you can change the beneficiary. For the purposes of this program, there is a limit of 2 state contributions per beneficiary per year. So what this means is, like, if you are eligible for up to $500, that beneficiary can only receive $500 twice. So that'd be $1,000. And there's also a lifetime maximum of $9,000 in state contributions per account holder across all accounts. And the reason behind this is the state of Maryland wants to encourage saving, and you're doing this every year. So the idea is that if the child is born, by the time they reach 18, they've received the $500 every year. But they do have up to the age of 26. So definitely take advantage of knowing the age of the child. If they're closer to, if they're in high school and they're closer to college, you can figure out different strategies to maximize the amount of contributions they can get from the state. And then the last thing is that contributions by the state are not guaranteed. One of the things to keep in mind about this program is that it is first come, first serve. Although Maryland 529 does say that accounts that have not received the contributions do take priority, you still want to make sure you get the funds. So you want to apply as soon as possible, because there is a budget set aside for this program, and if the funds run out, there's just no guarantee. Okay. And so here's a website where you want to visit to open your Maryland investment college plan, and then also apply for Save4College. And they have a great Q&A FAQ section to go through also some questions that you may have. And they have a great hotline number. I've called the hotline number myself a few times. They answer pretty quickly, and they have representatives helping on the line as well. So the deadline is May 31st, 2023. And so you guys still have like a month and a half to apply. So that is all. If anyone has any questions, we can open it up for questions.
We did have a question, but then your next slide answered it. I do have a question. The 529 plans apply to more than just colleges, right? And they could apply to vocational programs, technical programs, things of that nature, right?
Yeah, I was actually recently looking at the list of all the eligible schools in Maryland, and it's very extensive. I've heard from a lot of young people about beauty schools. There's a few beauty schools in there, and yeah, technical schools in there. Yeah.
Are there any questions from our attendees that we haven't covered on this? Give it a moment. All right, well, thank you, Whitney, so very much. That was a great program. At the end of this program, you will get a survey through WebEx. I would really appreciate everyone providing a brief feedback on this program. And should you have any questions for us or Cash Campaign, please definitely reach out to us. And otherwise, I thank you for attending, and I thank Whitney and Cash Campaign for the program. This has been recorded, and it will be available on the HOCO Community YouTube page under the OCP playlist, probably by the beginning of next week. And at the end of our Money Matters program, I will send out an email to every attendee of all of our programs with a link so that you can rewatch or share as needed. Thank you so much, and you guys can have your lunch hour back. Stop the recording.